What's the most life changing opportunity or experience you've ever had? And it might not be that thing that was actually just exciting or what posting about on LinkedIn, but something that genuinely altered how you see yourself, what you believe is possible for your life, something that made you think about your previous life and you knew you were just thinking small, something that had you understand that for a long time you've been operating beneath your own standard. And how long was it for? And when it ended and you stepped back into your normal life, your normal environment, your normal routine, what did you do with it? That experience, did you carry it? Or did you just slowly settle back into who you were before until you would just reference the memory and bring it up in conversations, but you're just not living from that experience again? Hi, I am Ebonlu Lufayo, and this is the Colors and Lights podcast, where we embrace life's colors and find our inner light. Today, we are talking about something I've been sitting with for a while: the top 0.01% of the 1%. Welcome. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Yeah. So, welcome back to the Colors and Lights podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who listened to our previous episode. Thank you so much. Yes. So I want to share my experience last August. What happened last August? Last year in August, I got accepted into the bridge program by the Afara Initiative. And it was a life changing experience for me, I'd be sincere. They had over 10,000 applicants in Nigeria across 150 school plus. And honestly, I don't know who Ebola Olufayo is that they would have thought of selecting her to be one of those people that would be qualified for the final stage. So imagine they had to pick 100 people out of 10,000 students, 10,000 youth in Nigeria. How did they even come about picking me? I don't know. But one thing is, while I was applying and through everything, I was just so sure of myself. Yes. I had back doubt. Sometimes I would just rethink and I'll be like, okay, what are the chances? But then what are the chances not? What are the chances that it wouldn't happen? And it actually did happen. And that experience is one of those things that I still think of and I still carry now. And it has just shaped me so much. It has exposed me to a level of excellence that I can't leave. It, it has inspired me, but it sort of has built me in a different way. That experience has given me a framework for something I had heard before, but I had not fully understood. I had heard this before, but I did not just know what exactly it meant and how deep it was, the top 0.01% of the 1%. I think one of the individuals that made that statement the most was our governor. Our governor would always just say it's top 0.01%, top 0.01%. He would keep saying it over and over and over and over and over again. And it just stuck in my head that, oh yeah, you are part of the top 0.01% of the one in Nigeria. So yeah, let me share a little bit of my experience in August. When I got accepted into the bridge program by the Afara Initiative, I was really excited because the application process was very tough for me and it was really draining. Honestly, sometimes I would come back from classes, I would want to just check my email and see if I've gotten to the next stage. When I got to the video interview stage, I was really excited. I think a lecturer was in class. I and my friends were inside the hostel. I said I had to quickly record this video and, just send it because we had a time frame of about 72 or maybe 48 hours. I can't quite remember. Now, after the entire application process and I got in, I had the issue of convincing my parents that I was going to be traveling to Lagos for 2 weeks. Now, personally, that was not a problem for me, but I just needed them to trust me. All my life, I've traveled by myself to different states and all that. I went to a boarding school. I would travel myself, go to school, go back home. So the big deal was not even about the traveling at this moment. The big problem was that would they be able to trust the potential that I had actually seen in myself and the opportunity that I had seen in this experience that I'm about to have. And actually, they said yes, they said I could go. I was really excited. I informed the school because most people were already on holidays, but we were still having clinical postings at the time. I had to miss about 2 weeks of clinical postings just to be able to travel down to Lagos. I traveled with some of my friends and some of our colleagues from Lautech, and we got to Lagos. Yeah. The first few days when we got to Lagos, I would say it was really strange. We had different people from different schools. We had people from Kaduna, from Kano, from Abuja. We had people from even close like Ilorin, Ibadan, and we had people from very far places. I would hear where someone is from, and I'm like, wow, people actually stay in that state. Like I just know it from state and capital. I've not even seen someone that lives there before. Like it's very nice to meet you. It was really amazing. I saw people that were studying different courses. I would hear a course and I'm like, wow, that's new. We don't do that in Southwest. That's really new. It was really, really interesting. And one thing about the experience was that either you like it or not, you would have to network. By the time we were done with the 2 weeks, I knew the name of every single person and we're 100. I knew the name of every single person. Every single individual knows the next person sitting down to them, knows the next person, they are walking the hallway with. We just knew each other and it seemed like it was easy. But the first few days we connected and we talked a lot. If we are not having a session, we are not in the cafeteria, even when we are in the cafeteria eating, we were still talking. You would want to sit with someone you had never spoken with, so you connect with the person. In that space, it felt like we knew the next governor of some state. It felt like we had the next president of Nigeria. We had the next ministers of health, ministers of finance. That was how it felt. Because you would hear some people speak, you would hear some people talk about what they do, and you would be challenged. Honestly, you would be challenged. But that experience gave me another perspective to life entirely. And one thing that I'm also going to talk about later on in this episode is how you can have experiences like that. But at the same time, when you live those spaces like that, you're not just living with the experience and dumping it at the side or at the corner of your room. At the same time, you are craving more of those experiences. If you don't keep having experiences like that, whatever you think you've built for that certain period of time is just going to waste away. Yes, that's what we are going to be talking about today. So come along. When you hear the 1%, what would probably come to your mind immediately is money. You will think about money, you think about power, you think about status, and to some certain kind of visible success. And yes, wealth is definitely part of it, but you are only looking at the influential picture. You're not looking at the outcome. You're not looking at the architecture that actually produced the entire system behind the 1%. Now, the 0.01% of the 1%, those ones are operating from an exceptional level. So they are not just distinguished by who they are. What distinguishes them is how they think, how they make decisions, how they manage their time, how seriously they take their craft, and the quality of their work. Now, they have a certain precision with which they move, and their level of clarity is just above the roof, honestly. And in their lives, they are not exactly the ones that you might think as the most famous or the most popular in all sense of it. You might know them, you might not know them, you might be aware of their presence, you might not be, but once they are in the room, one way or another, if you come in contact with them, you know this person is part of the top 0.01% of the 1%. There's nothing you can do about it. Yes. Now, for anyone that is building something, either a career, a brand, a business, or a body of work, I want you to understand that there's a difference between being popular and being influential. Now, for popularity, you have a wide reach, and then people know your name, people know your faces, people interact with your content. The reach is very, very wide, but the depth might not exactly be the same way the reach is. But for influence, influence is about what happens to someone after they encounter your work or your thinking. Does it change how they see something? Does it change the belief they were holding? Does it raise their standard for what is possible? Does it make them want to be more disciplined, more precise, more intentional? Does it make them want to chase excellence just because they've been in contact with you or with your work? Now, there are people who have enormous visibility and they have little to no actual influence. When you see them, you just scroll past. Sometimes you would even is like, okay, so what next? And then there are people, you know exactly the ones I'm talking about, who would put something out there and you have to stop, you have to just check, you have to go back to it. When they speak, you have to take notes. When they make a decision about their work or their career, you pay attention to it because there's a reason behind it, and you want to understand the reason behind it. You want to know why they did that. Behind their thinking is something deeper. Those people, they are your own 0.01%. It does not have to be what the world defines as the top 0.01%. You have your own guys, the ones that influence you. If your top 0.01% are not people you would want to be like, then in the grand scheme of things, you might exactly not even be influential or matter in the next 10 years. Yes. So you may not, those people might not really be famous globally, but they have the stance and they have the standard in your field, in your space. Their presence carries a lot of weight, and then their opinions matters very, very much in conversations. And also their work sort of is a reference point to others. Others would unconsciously measure their use their work to measure other people's works. You might have seen it online, someone will do something and then another person does it, and they're just using this 0.01 person's work as a reference, and they will say so person can do it better, or can't you see how these people are doing it? You understand? So yeah, that's how it is for those people that are your 0.01%. Now we have those ones that in the global system, they are the 0.01%, but also in your circle, you have your own 0.01% that people that influence your thinking, they influence your thoughts, they influence your decisions, they influence what you do. If these people are in any way out of place and they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, it's just going to reflect who you might eventually end up to be. Yeah. Now, for my August experience, it made me step into a room where I had access to a lot of people, networking every single time. It was just more than saving contacts, because these days if I go to events and I get someone's contact, I just message the person. We can talk for a few days. I know the projects they are working on, they know the project I'm working on. I'll be like, oh, look forward to partnering with you or working with you, and that's just it. We would not even have any conversation again. It might just be someone who sees my status and then the person just responds, and we'll just talk again from there. I'll be like, oh, how have you been? It's been a while we talked. That's just it. But then this one, I had to be in the same space with 100 people for 2 weeks. So even if you've collected the person's number, you will still see the person the next day. You will still see the person the next day. You will see the person the next day. Either you like it or not, for 2 weeks. Yes. Now, a lot of people really want to be in rooms like that. They want the access, they want the proximity to greatness, they want to be in spaces where real conversations are going on. They want to be in spaces where opportunity is closer to access. They want to be where the right people are gathered, where the 0.01% are present. And that desire is completely valid. I have felt it and I still feel that desire. In fact, I constantly feel the need to be in a space that is going to conflict my thinking, that is going to question what I know about life, what I know about my finance, what I know about every single thing that I believe in. I want to be in rooms like that. But what I've learned from that, my own brief of observation, is that the proximity would not exactly change who you are, but it's depending on how intentional you are about it. Let me give you an example. There's this thing about networking that we do. I've talked about the fact where you just take someone's number and then You would talk for a while, you're not going to talk again after then. Now, I had the privilege of being on that networking session, and the speaker explained to us that there was a particular point where he was going for certain events. He knew those people that I wanted to network with. He would have seen it on their Instagram stories that they posted it already, meaning they were going to be around. They would not necessarily network with the speakers because they would have a lot of people ask for their contacts, they would have a lot of people reach out to them. So he said he was not gonna do that. Except if it was someone that he had in mind for a very long time. Yeah. So what he's going to do is he's going to make research about every single person that he wants to network with. He's going to know the last project they worked on, the next project they are working on. He wants to know the first project they did, why it failed. He wants to know every single thing about them. Then when he sees them, he wants to be able to speak with them like he's in their space. So you know the way you meet someone and you're like, oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? That's how it's going to be like. That way, it leaves a feeling with them that they cannot just forget. They just have to remember him. Even if they don't respond to his message at first, they see his message again and like, oh my gosh, I have to respond to this guy. There is something we need to talk about because the last project I worked on, you know something deeper about me. You are very intentional. You're not just coming to network and say, "Oh, so I'm currently doing this. I'd like to partner with you." No, you're not coming with your CV and telling me this is what I do. You should hire me for your company. This is what I can do for your company. No, the basis that you've just done is to understand who I am, what I do, and you're just bringing that up in conversations randomly like it's nothing. But then this guy would have sat the night before going through tons of posts. I actually do it. Like I scroll through somebody's Instagram page, last to the very first post. I do it. I checked the very first post. There was a particular time I did it for Aproko Doctor. I saw the amount of videos that I had posted, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go and check your very first post. I saw when you firstly started doing the appropriation thing and talking about health. The first videos were nah, I don't know. They were crazy. You would not even want to watch them. Honestly, you would not want to watch them. Yeah. So the intentionality that was put into that type of networking would make people want to even hold you dearly. That oh, you really understand something. You really want to have access. And it's not just about the proximity. You made use of the proximity intentionally. Yes. But sometimes, most of us, we are going to sit next to exceptional people and we are just going to let it slide. Yeah, we are just going to let it pass. We are not going to learn anything, we are not going to pick anything, we are not curious enough, we are not paying attention, we are not asking the right questions. I think there is a beautiful art to asking the right questions. If you ask an intelligent man the right questions, he's going to be prompted to want to converse with you. He's going to want to speak to you about whatever it is that you're asking. You're not asking him how much is. You're asking him, why do you think people do this? How do you think this has influenced how you live your life? What's that value that you hold on to that has shaped your living, that has shaped your way of thinking? Who are those people that are significant in your life and where did you meet them? You ask them some questions and they'll be like, oh my God. I was listening to the most recent of the Declassified podcast, yes, and Prof was trying to avoid the question. Yes, he wanted to avoid the question. He was asked if he would take the position if he was given to be actively involved in the Nigerian politics, maybe to be a minister or something. He wanted to avoid it. But no, Apostle Lazarus knew the right question to ask. He just knew. He said he wanted to avoid it. He did not know that Apostle was going to remember and ask him again. Now, that type of thing, he knew the right question he was going to ask, such that even the person who was asking had a little bit of heart skip, that he wanted to skip the question. He did not want to talk about it. So, can you ask questions so good that the person you are having a conversation with, the person's heart will skip for a while and try to avoid your question because you take them to a depth that they don't want to go. You are not just on the surface level anymore. It's like you've opened up some depth in their hearts and they just have to like pour out. It's either they keep quiet or they just pour out. This man talked about every single thing that he had done in the Nigerian sector, the Nigerian economy. He kept mentioning different things that I never even knew existed. A board for people who had won certain awards, I never knew that existed. He talked about the great stuff he had done and how he had impacted a lot of people, regardless that he was not even actively involved in Nigerian politics, you understand? So that prompted him to talk so much. I think that was one of the questions that he had so much to say on, well, except the part where he talked about space. He had so much to talk about, you understand? So that question really moved something in him. So when you're also networking, there is an art to asking questions that would actually open doors for you, that would open ways for you. You ask questions such that they understand that you have a deeper perspective of things. They understand that you are not just operating from a surface level. Yeah. So now there are some people that would eventually get into rooms where they have the opportunity to intentionally network, they will get the opportunity to ask the right questions, and there are people that would just visit the level and then they would inhabit it. Those ones those ones, they are, it's like they've schooled in those sectors before. They already understand. They already know what they are supposed to do. They are listening for what people have said. They are listening for what they did not say. When you are listening to someone speak, you are watching out for not just what they say, but also what they left unsaid. If you ask me, oh, when you leave school, what do you want to do after school? And I tell you, oh, after school, I'll go for my internship, I will do this, I will do that. That's what I've said. Now, what I left unsaid is, do I want to get married after school? I did not say that. I left that unsaid. Now, you're going to deliberately even watch out for what is left unsaid because somehow it has an influence in their life. It has something to do with what they did not say. You can pick up questions from what is left unsaid. If you ask someone who has worked on a project and the person tells you, oh, the project was very successful, I partnered with this person and this person, and the person keeps telling you the great things they did, and the person did not tell you how they got funding, you just go ahead and ask, wow, so how was funding the project like? The person can just go, hmm. You already know there is a lot to say because the person skips that aspect well because everything I have seen is polished, everything I have seen is very, very beautiful. But then does not want to talk about the funding aspect to you. You understand? So when you're having a conversation, you're not just thinking about what the person has said, what the person did not say as well. Because trust me, they know what they should have said. They know what they did not want to say. They are very well aware of it. They did not skip their mind. Yes, they did not skip their mind. So, and if you do this consistently, you are not just going to be in exceptional room, but even in ordinary day, you are going to practice the same level of attention and intention that is going to bring you the greatest opportunities of your life. Excellence is not the mode that you switch on and off when you're in certain rooms. It's a standard that you are constantly and slowly building up every single day of your life. The same way you're going to have a conversation with a common man, the same way you're going to have the conversation with a CEO. Now, I understand there is a different understanding and a different level to how you would want to interact and communicate with them, but that does not mean you should leave your excellence at home when you're speaking with certain people. Yes, you just slowly build on it and it becomes the way you are going to operate. Yeah. Now, I want to also talk about something that getting into these rooms, having this experience with the 0.01% is going to do to you. It's going to expose you. Yes, and I mean that literally. It's going to expose you to yourself. So imagine when you're surrounded by people who are operating at a level significantly above where you currently are, your gaps are going to be visible. It's not going to necessarily be to them, but to yourself. You start to notice where your thinking is very shallow. You notice where you've been inconsistent. Someone might just randomly say, "Oh, we're able to move this business from point A to point B." And you remember your business that you started in 2015 and you could not complete it. You notice that you were inconsistent. You would not even want to talk about it. And you would notice where you've been performing rather incompetent. Yes, where you have been building very, very fast and you don't have any depth in that regard. You would hear some people give you some statistics, some facts, some information, and you just know you are knowledgeable about that aspect, but you've not done your research enough to understand it. Now, the exposure is not going to be comfortable for you, but it is useful for what's going to happen to you next. My experience in Lagos, it did not show me what I was working towards alone. It also showed me what I had not done yet. I thought I had built something excellent for myself, but then I knew I had to draw a line. I had to drop everything I know back at home and pick up a new understanding of excellence. I I was not going to be in that space as a visitor. I wanted to be able to contribute in conversations. I wanted to be able to speak with people and understand them, also contribute. So yeah, living there made me understand that there was a gap that I needed to fill. And for me, that gap was what I considered as excellence. Yeah, there's a difference between how you are going to enter a room and how you are going to contribute to that room. So even with the 0.01% of the 1%, they are also contributors. You have to contribute. They are not just there to absorb. You have to bring something. You have to add to the conversation. You have to create value in that space that you're occupying. And you are going to feel irrelevant if you don't do that, because for the long run, you're just going to stand at the side when they're having a conversation. And you're going to do right on. You're going to do when they're having a conversation, and for like 20, 30 minutes, you're doing what? What exactly? Like, can you just tell us one thing about what you know? Can you just give us a point? For me, then, it was just the way I had viewed what was okay and what I understood about global leadership, what I thought was the excellent way of building building relating to social impact now, because that was sort of like the aspects that I majored in. We had people that really, really majored in other aspects, but mine was social impact. Now, the understanding of what I used to have about how we should operate, what you should do, how you can solve problems, how you can understand what's going on and prefer solution, it was really flawed. And by the time I got into that space, I understood more. I knew more. I knew I had to do better. I knew there was another level of excellence that the top 0.01% operated on, and I needed to find myself in that same environment. So now let's talk about how you can actually become parts of the 0.01% of the 1%. Now, I'm going to try not to give you a whole list of things. I'm just going to mention things that are off my head. I really think offhand, I really think are the best that you can use to approach this. Now, the first thing that you have to change is how you tolerate yourself. Yes, there's some people that tell me no up till now, and I still feel offended. Not for any reason, but because I think we are friends enough, we are close enough. But these ones, they've been able to understand and tolerate themselves so much. They know when to say no, they know when to say yes, they know what's right for them, they know what's wrong for them. Now, there is something that you have to do with yourself. The 0.01% of the 1%, they hold themselves to a standard that most people would find unreasonable. You have to be unreasonable. And that's not because they are punishing themselves or they are pushing themselves away from the world, but they just genuinely internalize whatever it is they are building and they don't want to be careless with it. You cannot say yes to everything. You cannot give everyone your time. The way you handle your time, the way you treat your craft, what you do, the way you follow through, even when you have private commitment, it really, really matters. You have to close the gap between the way you are living your life and what everyone actually lives. You have to be able to understand that difference. You have to be able to change how you tolerate what you tolerate from yourself. If before you tolerated from yourself that you should wake up by 6 a.m., don't tolerate it again. Wake up by 5 a.m. if that's what it's going to take you. Yes. I'm still conflicted by the people that say no, but I'm learning to say no as well. I'm learning to say no as well. I'm not going to lie. It can be a very hard thing to say no. Sometimes I just try to like run away from this conversation because I don't know how to say no. So I see someone's message and the person just asks something. Oh, can you do this, this, this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I'm going to say no. And then I go thinking for like 3 minutes of how I'm going to say no, or I just say yes and I just try to like do it and then I forget about it. I don't even respond again. It's so, so bad. I don't know. Now, the second thing is that you have to become a serious student of your own field. You are not just going to be a casual consumer. You have to be a serious student. You cannot just keep scrolling through content in your industry. You have to study the patterns. If you are in real estate, you cannot just sit and then you're scrolling through the lands in Epe and you're like, oh my gosh, so much is happening in the real estate sector. No, no, you don't know there's so much that is happening. Know what's going on exactly. Yes, know decisions that people are making, study the industry, know the failures, know the pivots, like know the thinking behind the actual work, know the amount of money that is going into the sector, know the amount of money that is being used, know the countries that are doing best in that particular sector, know when there's any change or any fluctuation. You have to know. People at the top of their field, they understand their space at a depth that most people would never reach because most people will just stop at the surface. But you should know the history, you should know the mechanics, you should understand the why behind every single thing that is happening. That depth is what's going to give your work and your voice a different quality because you are going to speak from a place of abundance. You already know a lot from it. You're going to be giving little. You're going to just be sparingly saying something that you know regarding your space. It's not like you can sit and talk about everything. You understand? You know something, but then from the depth of what you know, that's what you're going to be pouring from. And then I think this would be the last is that the least glamorous aspects, you should actually embrace it. The version of you that nobody sees, the version of you that are still trying to build, you should actually embrace it. Yes. You should have that patience enough to be able to bear yourself, to be able to embrace yourself. Even when you don't get your results, you are still patient. You have that patience that you don't want to just passively be moving from point A to point B. Last year, you were the one talking about real estate. This year, you're already in tech. The next year, you're in media and comps. What exactly do you want to do? What exactly do you want to do? You have to be active, but at the same time, there are some days that you don't even get the energy to be able to do what you do the way you do it. We just have to understand that there is a compounding of effort that is going to be visible much more later. And the 0.01%, they did not get there in a season that they wish that they had gotten there. No, they got there even after through years and years of working and trying to understand the system, trying to understand the process, trying to build on what they know, you know, but one thing they never did was operate from a point of where they were always operating from a point of where they want to be. Now, this is not a sort of like a fake it till you make it lifestyle, but you dress the person you want to be, you talk the person you want to be, you understand? You move like the person you want to be because that is who you are. You're going to, at the end of the day, attract those type of opportunities. Yeah. I think I've said so much. This would probably be like maybe 40 minutes already now. And we are supposed to have the max at 30 minutes because I, for one, anytime I'm listening to podcasts that are over an hour, I don't know, I would just listen up to like 40 minutes and I would pause it and I would do something else, maybe listen to a song, then I will come back and listen again. Because sometimes I just want to like catch my train of thought. After listening for a very long time, I want to understand what's going on in my head, what I think about it, what my action plans are going to be. So if I listen for a stretch like that, I'm going to feel like, nah, I really need to pause for a while and think about this one that I've listened to first. Yeah, there are still a lot about the top 0.01% of the 1%. A whole lot. A whole lot, honestly. But that's the little aspects that we are able to talk about today. Well, we might have another episode where we are going to talk about some other aspects, and we might not. But there is one particular aspect I would really, really like us to talk about, and I think I've mentioned part of it, is about asking questions. Somehow, we are still going to talk about it. Don't worry. Yeah. So let's go back to where we started. I asked that what is the most life changing experience you have ever had, and what did you do after it? Dear 0.01% of the 1%, what did you do after it? So maybe you had the room and you in that room you had your standards raised high, you had an experience that made you understand what's possible. But after you left that particular place, what did you do? Those type of experiences will change your life, but you still determine what would happen after that. The top 0.01% of the 1%, they are not extraordinary because of the opportunities they have received in life. But what makes them extraordinary is that they built in the time between the opportunities. They built a lot of things between those opportunities. If you are in a certain room right now and you've learned a lot from that room, before you get into that same a similar experience, let's say in the next 3 months, what are you going to have built before that next opportunity? Such that you're not just always going into rooms where the top 0.01% are and you're learning the same thing all over again. You are having the same compilation of knowledge. It just feels like they are repeating things. If you keep attending event and it feels like they are repeating the same thing, no, they are not repeating the same thing. You're the one who is still in the same place. They're the one who's in the same place because those speakers who you met the last time, they are different from who they are right now. They've moved ahead. They have a different perspective, and even though it looks like it's similar, it is not similar. It's just you who is still operating from that same standpoint, and you still think what they are saying is similar, is still alike. You don't have any new thing to pick up from it. So even between the time that you're going to move on and get the next life changing opportunity, what are you going to build within that period of time? So that you don't get into those spaces and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm even tired of attending events. They keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. They keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah. So the question for you now is, are you willing to actually align your daily life, your ordinary and your extraordinary days, to actually reaching and living at a level where you are constantly moving and you're constantly building? That way, you will stand a chance of being part of the 0.01% of the 1%. Yes. And I know this is the beginning of something great. This is the beginning of something beautiful for you and I. Thank you so much for listening. This is a long listening. Thank you so, so much for listening up till the end. And again, this is the Colors and Lights. And here we embrace life's colors and we find our inner lights. I hope to see you same time next week Thursday. Thank you.